longevity in life is to sprinkle a little bit of gunpowder in your oatmeal every morning. And so the son did this religiously, and he left this world at 103 years old. He left 14 children, 27 grandchildren, and 13 great-grandchildren, and a 15-foot hole where the crematorium used to be. Takes a minute to get it. I let it go. Yes. He went out with a bang. See, is that a better punchline? Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for that meditation, Reverend Francie. It brought back something for me, which I'll tell in the story. But praise God for all the fathers in the world. You know, wouldn't none of us be here without a father, right?
That's right.
So praise God for all the fathers in the world. And you know, a lot of thoughts come through my mind, at least, when you hear these different reports, like Dr. Anna gave from the conference, and you know, there's just so many wonderful things. I think that I was going to tell you, Dr. Anna, but I'll tell everybody. You can listen too right now, okay? Is that, you know, when we were looking at that business meeting, and I think I told Reverend Francie during the week, is it was probably the most uncontentious and best joyful business meeting I've seen since I was a kid, you know. So they were, of course, when I was a kid, there were just ministers invited, but anyway, it was great. So I really enjoyed that part of it. But praise God for all fathers. Today is Father's Day, and I want you to know there has to be, though, a family system, a hierarchy, if you will, but don't take offense to the word hierarchy. If you do, that's on you, okay? That's not what it's meant for. It's not meant for offense. But there does have to be a family system, just like, you know, even though Dr. Anna was saying that the future of unity, what we're looking at as far as outreach and other ways to minister to people other than coming into the church, I believe, and I always will believe, is that the church is still the main focus. The church is coming to the church because that's where you're going to get the most benefit. I know that we've come into a world where we are all internet and we all talk through different means, but a personal relationship with someone face-to-face is a lot different than saying something over the internet. Right?
Yes.
Not saying it's bad, I'm just saying it's different. Because if I say I love you to a person that's standing in front of me, it's a lot more human emotion, human feeling, human thinking about saying that instead of saying it over the internet, isn't it?
We also have examples of other ways to do ministry in the community without
Yes.
using the internet.
Oh yeah,
Lots of other ways
And
to
we're
minister.
actually, it's funny because I've been thinking about that too, because of the property actually. Because you know we have everybody in here knows that if we had a couple $1 million, we'd have a start a building, right? We don't have a couple $1 million, so we're figuring out other ways. Well, the last couple of weeks, I've had calls from GDOT saying, you know, you got to get that sidewalk in. You got to get that sidewalk in because Rockdale County has been complaining about it. Well, either yesterday or the day before, I think it was just yesterday, I was thinking, you know, because here's the deal. I don't want to put the sidewalk in yet because that new catch basin needs to be cut out. Anyway, there's reasons why the sidewalk isn't in there yet. We've got to take out that part of that driveway to put in the new driveway, okay? There's reasons. That sidewalk is really the last deal. It's not a big deal for us, but for pedestrians, it is a big deal, right? So I was thinking just yesterday about, you know, how can we get a sidewalk in there, something in there, because the sidewalk is not hard to put in. We're going to definitely do that ourselves. It's not a big deal. But so I was thinking yesterday about what can we do to, no, it's Friday. I know it's Friday. To get essentially a temporary sidewalk in there. Well, what are we going to do later? We're going to have some type of permeable drive after the driveway is put in there, right? And a permeable drive is going to be movable usually. So I was thinking, why don't we just put some of the permeable drive stuff in there, like stones or whatever, as a sidewalk right now, and dig them up when we're done, after we get done with the other bit, right? So we have to think of things differently to get, if you want to achieve a result, when you don't have the old-fashioned way of achieving that result, right?
Right.
So, in other words, the old-fashioned way is get $2 million and put it in there, right? The new-fashioned way is figure out a new way without $2 million, which we're doing. Anyway, back to Father's Day. There has to be a family system, though, for a church to work and for a family to work well. Now, I know some people might take offense to this. I'm not meaning offense from it, but it's very well documented. In any of your social studies or you go to, not necessarily psychological, it was your social studies. If you don't have a father figure and a mother figure in the house, not necessarily two different people, but a father figure and a mother figure in the house, then the children do suffer. They don't get what they need as far as a variety to learn how to live their life and what they're supposed to look at. Because the father figure is supposed to set the moral compass for the family. That's a lot on the father, I know, but it is in history, the father figure is supposed to set the moral compass for the family. So the father, even though you don't want to take it as a burden, the father should do what is right to show the children or everybody in the family what is right. Now, what is right to one father may be different than what is right to another father, right? But that father needs to do what is right. The father, this is from Charles Fillmore, The Revealing Word. And of course, I want to separate this here in a minute. But the father mind is the living principle, the absolute, the great unlimited. What is he talking about really in his book? He's talking about God mind, right? He's talking about you and your connection with God. When you're under that understanding and you're thinking with the divine ideas that you are allowed to have in life, then what is your thinking? Okay? If your thinking is along those same lines, then that's what he's talking about. Then you are the living principle, the absolute, the great unlimited. But that's the same for a father figure in a family, or a father figure in a church, a father figure in any group. It's the same. It needs to be as good as possible. And like I say, I'm not trying to put a burden on anybody, but you need to be as good as possible. And everybody does. I hope we all live to that. We all live to do the best thing we can at the time. A lot of things that our parents have done, that if we think back, one of the things I was thinking about after you said that in the meditation, Reverend Francis, was my dad worked all the time. We didn't see Dad that often. In the evening, we saw him for dinner, and then we were put to bed. But anyway, but sometimes when he wasn't on the weekend, if he wasn't golfing, we would always get up early, him and I. And so he would take me out to the Shell station down the street in Dallas, Texas, to get a Coke, because he drank a lot of Coca-Colas. I don't know where I got that, but he drank a lot of them. Anyway, that was always a special moment. It was always a special moment because it was rare. It didn't happen that often. I'd say once a quarter it happened. He wouldn't be going to the golf course, and he'd take me down to the Shell to get a Coca-Cola. Of course, back then it was in bottles. Ooh, that tasted good, didn't it? In bottles? Oh, man. They did a great job trying to do that in cans. It still isn't quite the same, though, is it? Man, that's good out of a bottle. Does anybody remember Coke out of a bottle? Come on now. Ooh, that was
You're
good.
living in Coke country.
I know. That's why I asked. I'm glad. Anyway, so Fillmore explains that, and I bring that into this lesson this morning because of the fact that we're going to talk about two different things this morning. We're going to talk about the father figure, not only as far as a human being, but the father figure as a spiritual being also. Part of the moral compass a father needs to exhibit is forgiveness. And I know that anybody, if anybody's like me, which I know that a lot of people are in this instance, if you have actually a child, then you will almost forgive them you will forgive them for everything. There's no almost about it, to be quite honest. You won't like some of the things they do, especially as they grow as an adult. You won't like it. You won't agree with it. You may not back it, but you will forgive them for anything. I suppose we shouldn't tell kids that, but we will forgive them because our love surpasses that, doesn't it? Our love as a father, as a parent, period, surpasses that with our child, doesn't it? No matter what they do, we're in their corner. Not backing them what they're doing if we don't agree with it, but we're in their corner, right? We love them that much. And we can't say that to other people, can we? About other people, can we? Oh, that guy did something. He should go to jail forever. Our kid did it. Oh, wait a second, Judge. Right? Wouldn't it be interesting if we felt that way to everybody? And that's what we're talking about back there, what Fillmore was talking about. That we felt that way to everybody. I wish I could forgive everybody. I mean, I have sort of, but not totally. So, one of the things I don't like to bring up, because I'm not going to be political, but it's going to be a little bit political here, is because I got some of you reached out to me about this, and that is, please don't take this wrong. I don't care who's president, who's doing what. I would say the same thing, okay? But when we, as a country, because I think, you tell me if you think this way too. I think the United States is the father figure of the world, to be quite honest.
Absolutely.
I think that we are the father figure of the world. We need to do the right thing when we can, all the time. All the time, no matter what it is. We need to do the right thing. Well, and I know there are reasons. Believe me, I do know there are reasons.
There are
And I'll tell you a little bit of reasons. There is. Let me tell you, Sandra. The reason that I bring this up is because when we as a country try to separate that family system, it hurts a lot more than just that family. It hurts the human family. And we can't do that.
It's immoral.
Listen now, if I'm a father, if I'm a mother, and I come into some place, if I've been persecuted somewhere, and I'm coming to some place where I know I'll be safe, and my family will be safe, and they give me a choice whether I let my kid go or go back with me, I'm going to let my kid go. You understand what I'm saying? And that happens. So I'm not trying to make a bad guy here, because there is no bad guy. It's a tough decision, okay? It's a tough decision. But we, as I think, as the United States, are the father figure and have to set a good example. And it's not a good example to do something that hurts the family system. So I know that we have all of us got a family system. It used to be what? Mom and dad, 2.1 kids or something forever. And then it's changed. And that's okay. And I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm just saying that we can do better in some instances. So the father figure has to exhibit the forgiveness. Even in that situation, we have to forgive the people that we think are in charge of making the wrong decision, okay? Hear me out now. If you don't forgive the person that you think is doing wrong, then you're holding something in you that's preventing it from being done right. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you hold something in you ill towards somebody else, no matter who it is, you're holding the right from showing up. I don't know if that's where you thought I was going or not, Sandra, but anyway. Anything can be good, which is God, or not so good, which is not so much God. Right? Okay, let me tell you something. The internet was created not by John Kerry, or whoever said that they did it. It wasn't John Kerry. No, Al Gore, yeah. Not by Al Gore, but anyway, it was invented for good, wasn't it? Now, can everybody agree that it was invented for good?
Yes.
It was invented for good. Does everybody use the internet for good?
No.
Not so good. Yeah, some people use it for not so good. So everything, we have to remember this one thing. Even though God may be in the situation, it may be hard to see God if we are not focused on that. Because everything was created from good. Some people might have created some things that they didn't think was good at the time even. But everything was created for good, or from good, for good actually. I used to be, and I think I've told you all this before, but I used to be for the majority of my life still by a long shot, against long prescribed medication. We had a child actually in our care, and we broke the law actually, when we were foster parents. This girl was, she was one of the older ones. We didn't usually take older, but I think she was 15 or 16. I think she was 16. And she was on this medication, been on this medication for a long time. And she was okay and everything. Look, she had her problems, there was no doubt. But she's on this medication, and I said, why we have to feed her this medication all the time? It doesn't seem like it does anything. I think we should take her off of it. You're not supposed to do that. I knew that, but I wanted to take her off of it, so I took her off of it. And it was a mistake. It was a mistake to take her off of it. But so during that, after that time though, I talked to a union minister about that, not necessarily that situation, but about my thoughts on drugs, and he said, you know what, Warren, Every drug that has been invented was invented to do good for somebody. And I thought, you know what? That's right. The person who invented the drug didn't invent it to get people hooked or whatever, to hurt them. Invented it to try to help somebody. And so ever since then, I've thought about that, and I thought, you know what? That's a pretty cool way to look at it if you think about it. If every drug, the idea behind it was to help someone, even though if it didn't end up being that, then that was the idea behind it.
Yes.
And hopefully it does help somebody. Forgiveness and morality are human characteristics, so let's not forget that. They are human characteristics. To forgive is to be divine. You have that saying, and that is correct, but it's a different level when you forgive on that. And it's not exactly forgiveness, because forgiveness is a human characteristic. I'll explain. We're going to switch in a minute. In order to be fully forgiven, one must understand how to experience surrender, though. And surrender is a spiritual thing. Surrender is a spiritual characteristic. That's a neat picture, Francie. Surrender is not giving up. Surrender is not holding a white flag like a lot of people think about and saying, I give up. That is not what surrender is. Surrender is a spiritual practice, and what it is, if I have it up here, I'm going to have to say it from there. Surrender is allowing God to guide us in life. Allowing God to be in the equation. We took a moment here a few minutes ago to have a bit of a meditation. Well, do we do that in our own daily life? Do we allow ourselves to think, hey, okay, this is all kind of what's happening in my life is a lot. What can I do? What do I need to do? Well, let's just relax on that and say, God, what do we need to do? What do we need to do? I have had that driveway thing going on for a long time, haven't we?
Yes.
And I never thought of that brick thing, or that thing before. All of us have to do this. We have to say, wait, let me just wait. There's more involved than just me. What do I need to do? I need to just relax and let it go. Right? I need to let it go and say, God, here, all right, let me have it. This is also from Charles Fillmore, The Revealing Word, and it kind of puts the two together. Father and Son, of course, we're talking about, let's think about this on our life. Father and Son, result of knowing both. When we are quickened in spiritual understanding, when we understand how to surrender, we experience a renewal of mind and a transformation of body. The mortal becomes immortal. The corruptible, this is from the Bible, of course, becomes incorruptible. It is the resurrection into eternal life. And that really, on surrender, is what Fillmore was trying to learn how to do fully for his idea of regeneration, which was to regenerate all the cells in the body to continue to live a youthful life. Surrender is extremely important, and it's something that we don't talk about that much in unity, and sometimes we get ahead of ourselves thinking, okay, this is the plans that we need to make. This is our 5-year plan, this is our 10-year plan. Well, when we teach all the time, what's going on in this moment? That's a little bit different than 10 years, 5 years, 10 years, isn't it? Surrender is knowing that there is much, much more good than we can see with our human eyes. Which is kind of a little bit tricky, not really. I think most people understand it that way, but it's like the idea with the stones again, or whatever we're going to use to make that sidewalk. But we can see, if we were spiritually inclined all the time, we can see probably all the good. I'm not saying we can't. Okay, what I'm saying is that most of the time, though, we get stuck with that stuff that we're doing. We're driving down the road. We have to pay attention because we're not going to have a wreck. But as long as we can be, as much as we can be focused on our spiritual understanding and our spiritual self, then we will see more good in our life. So what we have to do is surrender to our higher self. That's all we have to do. And I'm saying that's all we have to do because it's easy. It is easy. It isn't hard. You know, we get up here and talk to you every week, but it's not about hard stuff. Sometimes it sounds hard, but it's not. To surrender is easy, but we have to surrender to our higher self and allow those divine ideas to come into us and to be part of our life. To live from those instead of, you know, it's my way or the highway. God, get out of the way. I've got this one. Don't worry about it. Right? We don't say that literally, but sometimes we do that, don't we? At least I do. Sorry. I shouldn't. Yeah, but let's erase that. Don't, hey, Sandra, erase that. Take that off the table. I don't ever do that. So can we agree to surrender and let our higher self do the talking?
Yes.
Can we?
Yes.
And you know, even like that situation I brought up earlier as far as American leading, I do want you to know that because I think, I know one of the reasons that we don't have full churches as we used to is that Unity's message has gotten, has spread to other churches that are still a lot, that are more fundamental and have had a lot of years with a big following. But Unity's message has gotten in there. And it's gotten in there to the point where they're keeping their people with that, but they're still saying, you know, you got to come here and bend on your knee and I'm the way to God and all that stuff. Okay? So don't get discouraged by Unity churches not being, why I'm saying that is don't be discouraged by Unity churches not being as full as they used to be. And I don't know if y'all experienced that or not. But don't be discouraged by that because still we have the most powerful thing that is, and everybody has access to it, that can overcome anything. And that is the power of prayer. No matter how much we see with our eyes out there, it can change through prayer. I mean, we've proven that through health challenges with our congregants and with others, haven't we? Haven't we proven that? I hope you've learned that we've proven that because there's been miracles happen in this church. The so-called miracles, health miracles. But it can happen in any facet of life. And so if we look at a situation that we don't like and we think that it should be changed, then going out and throwing stones is not the way to do it. Centering ourselves and knowing the truth and seeing a brighter idea, a brighter future is the truth, is the way to do it. And it will manifest once the collective consciousness does that. So thank you for being here today. We're going to have some beautiful music.